March 8, 2014. It was the kind of night when the world was asleep. But above the clouds, a story was about to begin. One that no one has been able to understand even today. At Kuala Lumpur International Airport, everything looked perfectly ordinary. Flight MH370, a Boeing 777, was ready to depart for Beijing. 239 passengers from different countries, living different lives, none of them knowing that this would be their final journey. Inside the cockpit, Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah with more than 18,000 hours of experience, and beside him, co-pilot Farik Hamid, flying one of the last flights of his training. Both calm, both confident. 12:41 a.m. MH370 lifted off from the runway. Everything was normal. Clear skies, calm winds, and the aircraft climbed steadily toward 35,000 feet. But just 11 minutes after takeoff, something changed, a small detail. So subtle the world didn't notice. But later, it became the first major clue of the investigation. The plane was climbing faster than usual, as if someone wanted to reach altitude in a hurry. Then came 1:19 a.m., the moment the cockpit was heard for the last time. "Good night, Malaysian 370. The voice was unusually calm, so calm that many experts later said it sounded a little too relaxed. And just 2 minutes later, at 1:21 a.m., the aircraft's transponder was switched off. MH370 disappeared from radar. Remember, a transponder does not turn off by itself. It has to be turned off manually, meaning someone deliberately made the aircraft invisible, and then, shocking everyone, MH370 made a perfect manual left turn, a turn so precise that only a highly experienced pilot could execute it. This is where the story begins to twist. Investigators later found that the plane flew toward Penang Island, the place where Captain Zahari lived. Was it a coincidence or a silent farewell? But then, at 1:52 a.m., MH370 entered one of the world's largest radar dark zones, a region where neither Malaysia, nor Thailand, nor Indonesia, nor Vietnam provides radar coverage. For 1 full hour, 239 people were in the sky, and no one on Earth knew where the plane was. And from here begins the long black unseen night of MH370, a mystery that still refuses to fade. It kept flying for 7 more hours. A plane the world had already assumed was dead. After 1:52 a.m., MH370 slipped completely into darkness. No radar, no signal, no communication, just a massive Boeing 777 vanishing into the night. But the story did not end there. In fact, this is where the real mystery of MH370 truly begins. Because what the world didn't know was this: the plane did not crash at that moment. It was still in the air, alive, and flying. And the first evidence of that came from a place most people had never even heard of. The Inmarsat satellite. Yes, the same satellite that silently drifts over the entire Indian Ocean. It sends a tiny handshake, an invisible, silent ping to every aircraft. The pilots don't hear it. Ground control doesn't hear it. But if an aircraft responds to that ping, it proves only one thing: the aircraft is still flying. And MH370 responded, not once, not twice, but 7 times. Meaning, the plane stayed in the air for 6 hours, while the entire world believed it had already crashed into the sea. This was the true beginning of the mystery. The first ping came at 2:25 a.m. This meant the plane had turned around and was already heading west after circling over Malaysia. The second ping, 3:41 a.m. The third, 4:41 a.m. The fourth, 5:41 a.m. Every ping told the same story. MH370 is still flying, but the most terrifying part was these pings carried no voice, no message, no distress call. Just cold evidence that a machine was moving through the sky and its engines were still running. While the world believed the aircraft had fallen into the ocean, the truth was far darker. MH370 was silently heading deeper into the Indian Ocean, and then investigators uncovered something even stranger. The aircraft wasn't flying in a straight line. Its speed would drop, then rise. It would tilt right, then left. This was not an autopilot pattern. It was as if someone kept taking control. In between moments of the plane drifting on its own, and then came the ping that shook the entire world, the seventh handshake, 8:19 a.m. This was the final signal. But before that handshake appeared, the aircraft sent a log-on request. What does that mean? It only happens when an aircraft suddenly loses power, or both engines fail, or the entire system resets. Only then does the plane try to reconnect to the satellite. Meaning, in its final moments, something went terribly wrong inside MH370. Maybe the power went out, maybe both engines died, maybe the aircraft was taking its final breath. That 8:19 a.m. ping was MH370's last sign of life. After that, complete silence, complete darkness. No more pings, no more signals, no more data. Just a deep, endless ocean, and a plane sinking into it. This is where the truly terrifying chapter begins. The last dive. Those final minutes when MH370 took its last breath and left behind a mystery the world has never solved. After 8:19 a.m., MH370 went completely silent. A massive Boeing 777, weighing more than 250 tons, vanished from the world without a trace. And the most terrifying part was this. Its final ping came from the most remote, deepest, and most unforgiving stretch of ocean on Earth, the southern Indian Ocean. Out here, there are no ships, no islands, no rescue, nothing but water. Endless water for thousands of miles. Investigators proposed two possibilities, and both were equally horrifying. The first possibility. The aircraft ran out of fuel and slowly drifted down on autopilot. If that had happened, the plane would have descended in a long, stable glide, breaking apart before impact, leaving wide debris trails and wave patterns on the ocean's surface. But not a single trace supported this scenario. The second possibility. A death dive, a near-vertical 90-degree plunge known as an uncontrolled terminal dive. This could mean either both engines failed suddenly or the pilot deliberately pushed the plane straight down into the sea. And then came a rare, disturbing clue, one that most public reports never highlight. The flaps on MH370 were not deployed. Flaps are used when a pilot wants a soft, controlled water landing. They slow the aircraft and stabilize the descent. But on MH370, the flaps were EP, meaning this was not a soft landing. This wasn't a controlled emergency. The aircraft hit the ocean fast, hard, and violently. The impact was so catastrophic that the entire structure, every piece of metal, shattered into millions of fragments within seconds. For 16 months, nothing surfaced. The world was desperate, families were breaking down, government stayed silent, and the ocean revealed nothing. Then, in 2015, on the shores of Reunion Island, a large flaperon washed up. It was the first confirmed piece of MH370, and the marks on it proved one thing. The aircraft never attempted a controlled landing. Later, more small fragments were found scattered across Mozambique, Madagascar, and even the coast of Africa. But none of them were from the cockpit. None were from the engines. None were from the black box. So where did the black box go? Why was it never found? Why did its beacon never transmit a single ping? To this day, no one has an answer. The investigations produced multiple theories. some terrifying, some logical, and some so strange they seemed impossible. Theory 1: pilot suicide. It was claimed Captain Zahari had simulated a South Indian Ocean route at home. Some asked, was this a trial run for MH370? Theory 2: hijacking. But if it was hijacked, where were the demands? The calls? The messages? Theory 3: fire. A slow-burning fire may have started in the cabin, but then, how did the plane stay in the air for 7 hours? Theory 4: depressurization. If cabin pressure dropped, everyone could have passed out. But then, why not the cockpit? Theory 5: military silence. Several aircraft were flying close to MH370 that night, but none saw it. No radar detected it, no photographs, no signals. Did something happen in the skies that night that the world was never told about? And in the end, the biggest question still echoes. Where did MH370 go? In which part of the ocean does it sleep? And what were the final moments of those 239 souls? There are no answers, only one truth. MH370 didn't just vanish. It left behind the largest void in aviation history. A void that still echoes today like a muffled scream buried deep within the ocean. The final truth, the one never written in reports, but still living as a question in the minds of millions. The official search for MH370 covered an area larger than 120,000 square kilometers. A search operation so massive the world had never seen anything like it. 3 nations, Australia, Malaysia, and China, spent months combing through the ocean, yet all they received in return was silence. The ocean revealed nothing, not a single large piece, not a single body, not even one black box signal. Nothing. But the real story, this is where it begins to get darker. When investigators combined the aircraft's route data, the engine logs, and the satellite arcs, a shocking pattern emerged. The plane hadn't flown straight south at all. It had changed direction along the way. Was it to conserve fuel? Was it an attempt to avoid someone? Or a deliberate effort to disappear from the world's eyes? No one knows. But this zigzag pattern kept every global agency awake at night. Then came the question that still hangs in the air. Where did the black box signal go? There are 2 black boxes. The cockpit voice recorder, CVR, and the flight data recorder, FDR. Both are designed to transmit a beacon signal underwater for up to 30 days. But in the case of MH370, neither of them sent even a single ping. Did both fail at the same time? Were they crushed under pressures so extreme the beacon couldn't activate? Or were the black boxes simply never where the authorities were searching? There is no answer. And that is the most frightening part of this case. Some experts pointed out a disturbing possibility. The region where the aircraft fell is among the deepest points on Earth. Depths reaching between 5,000 to 7,000 meters. Down there is only darkness, cold, and pressures so immense that steel bends like paper. Is MH370 resting there? Maybe, but without evidence, it remains only an assumption. And then comes the thought that shattered the hearts of families and leaves viewers around the world silent for minutes. Where were the passengers in their final moments? Were they all unconscious? Did a single pilot fly the aircraft alone? Did the cabin lose pressure, or did everyone on board know they were going to a place from which no one ever returns? The truth, no one will ever know. But one thing is certain. Life inside MH370 faded slowly. And that thought alone is one of the deepest pains in human history. Even after the investigation, many things were never written in official reports. When the truth ends, only a story remains. And MH370 has become exactly that story. The world is still searching for MH370. Some believe governments are hiding data. Some families are trapped between hope and heartbreak. Some scientists are redrawing the maps of the ocean. And somewhere, people are still asking questions. Captain Zahari was a respected pilot. There is no evidence he crashed the plane intentionally. No evidence of suicide. No evidence of hijacking. No evidence of an accident. MH370 is a puzzle where every theory feels half true and half false. Every idea shifts into a new shape. Every answer becomes a new question. And the truth? Perhaps we only know the pieces we were allowed to know, not the pieces that truly mattered. Every time a new fragment washes ashore, a spark of hope rises. Maybe the next piece will finally complete the story and reveal one final picture. But the truth of MH370 is not a picture. It is an emptiness. A vast, echoing emptiness that still lives in the hearts of 239 families. For them, this is not a mystery. It is not a story. It is a wound, one that time has never been able to heal. And when the wind blows across the ocean, when the waves rise, it feels as if the ocean itself whispers, "I've taken him within me. He sleeps in a depth no human eyes can ever reach." The tragedy of MH370 didn't just take an airplane. It left the world with a lesson we will never forget. No matter how advanced technology becomes, no matter how far human exploration reaches, no matter how powerful science grows, there are still mysteries on this earth we are not meant to understand. Some stories never find answers, and some pain survives only as silence. Where MH370 went, how it went, and why it went, those answers may appear someday, or they may remain lost forever. But one truth will always remain. 239 people were in the air that night, and their final breaths still lie imprisoned in the depths of the ocean. This story does not end here. It lives inside every heart brave enough to seek the truth, and MH370 has now become the greatest unsolved mystery our world has ever known.